Allah says that potential exists inside some human beings. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. Interesting also, the two words in Arabic is manu', which means excessively forbidding, excessively denying others. In other words, you go out of your way to make sure nobody else gets what you got. You got something good coming your way, you want to make sure nobody gets even a piece of it. You know, you want to see an example of manu', and it's not like evil people. I'm talking about just average human beings. You have siblings, right? You have siblings, and you know, only, like there's 4 brothers and sisters, and one sister found 4 cookies in the kitchen. She's got 3 other sisters, but she found 4 cookies in the kitchen. Now, it's easy math. She gets 1, the others get 1 each. But what's the first tendency? Before the other sisters see you, take a bite. If you can't finish all of them, at least take a bite or lick all of them at least. At least lick all of them. I already licked it. You know? I'm not saying that child is evil, but that's a human tendency. That's something Allah put inside the human being. When good comes your way, you want it all to yourself, even if you don't need all to yourself. Even if it wouldn't hurt you to share. It wouldn't hurt you. You would rather get a stomach ache than give it to somebody else. You know, and one of the favorite candy experiments I do with my children is M&Ms. Because M&Ms is a lot to go around, you know. Like a Snickers is hard to share. You know, and I have 6 kids, so Twix is not going to work. So M&Ms, you know, it's economical. But then, you know, when you're pouring, and you say everybody gets 2, right? You do this tough economy, you know, so everybody gets 2. Then somebody gets 3, and they immediately clench their fist. Right? Ah, I got 3. You know? And then everybody else wants 3, and then somebody tries to snatch 4. You know why this happens? This is actually human nature. Allah put this inside us. There's a tendency inside us to want more than our share. It's there. This is the same tendency that leads some people on Wall Street to give themselves huge bonuses, even if it means that 300 people are going to lose their job or their homes. It doesn't matter. Because that tendency, if it's not checked, if it's not put in place, can lead to high levels of corruption. Where do you think corruption comes from in government? Why do you think, you know, these kickbacks, and in most corrupt governments, especially in the Muslim world, what is corruption always tied to? It's not about power, it's about money. It's about money. Somebody wants more than their share. The official, the representative, is having a kickback to himself, and he's not letting the well get built or some infrastructure get developed, because everything that comes goes outside of it into his pocket. You know, we have politicians in the Muslim world whose names are things like Mr. 10% or Mr. 20%, etc., etc. These are the common names among the politicians. You know, why? Because this is the idea of whenever good comes to you, وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. He's preventing others from getting it. And in this ayah already we have an indication that this tendency that we have is something that has to be fought. Here's a reason it has to be fought. Before Allah talks about these 3 ayat, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. Right before this ayah is actually the ayat of hellfire. Right before this is a commentary about people who end up in hellfire. And then Allah talks about these kinds of people. What is Allah telling us? These people had these tendencies, and they lived according to those tendencies. They didn't fight those tendencies. They didn't curb those tendencies, and that is why they ended up in hellfire. And by the way, if you want to just summarize all 3 of these tendencies, somebody who's self-absorbed, right? Somebody who's selfish. Look at the description of this person on Judgment Day in the same surah. Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَوَدُّ الْمُجْرِمْ لَوْ يَفْتَدِي يَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْتَدِي مِنْ عَذَابِ يَوْمِئِذٍ بِبَنِيهِ. The criminal is going to wish on that day that he can ransom his child for his own life. He's going to give up his kid so he cannot burn in hell. وَأُمِّي وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَأَخِيهِ, and his wife. It's interesting, he didn't offer his wife first, he offered his child first. You would think otherwise, right? But he offered his child first. Why? Allah is describing the extent of his greed. He doesn't even care about his child. What to mention his sahiba. And Allah didn't say, by the way, his zawja. Zawja is wife. Sahiba is the wife he was always with. He actually loved her. Zawja, you could have love, not love. It could be complicated. But a sahiba, you're always with her. Like the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam has sahaba. Sahaba, right? He doesn't just have rufaqa. He doesn't just have zumala. He doesn't just have atba'. He doesn't just have, muti'een. He doesn't have followers. He doesn't have associates, affiliates. No. He has sahaba. Sahaba means they're always with him and they love being with him. So when the wife is called sahiba, it actually means he was in love with his wife. And he always wanted to be with her. And he's ready to give her up for being saved from hellfire. And then wa akhi, and his brother. Wa fasilatihi, and his entire family, extended family. He counts his cousins by name, let him go to hell. And not just any family. Allati tu'wihi. You know there's cousins you hate. You're like, okay, Allah, this one. Take him. But not that. Allati tu'wihi, the family that protected him. That sheltered him. He's offering them to go into the hellfire. And then eventually, وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا, Ya Allah, you know what? I would really love to be saved from hell. If I can offer you the rest of the population of the earth, وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا, with no exception, take everybody to hell, let me go. That's how selfish this guy is on Judgment Day. And Allah describes then, but you know, your selfishness on Judgment Day didn't just come out of nowhere. You already had selfishness in this world. You were halur, jazur, manur. You had these qualities already. And then Allah says, well then you and I are supposed to be worried because Allah didn't say kuffar have these qualities. Allah said, innal insana khuliqa halu'a. The human being has these qualities. He was created in this way. But then Allah adds, illa al-musallin, with the exception of people who pray. The exception is the people who pray. In other words, these qualities, what's the first remedy against them? Salat. Salat is supposed to make you less selfish, more considerate of others, more sharing, more caring, more patient, less reactionary, more calm, more collected. It's supposed to have a psychological impact on you and me. These are the people of Salat. Allah says when the people of Salat don't have these qualities, then the question comes, are we really making Salat? Because, we're making Salat and we still have a lot of disorders. We still have a lot of really bad reactions in life. We still really have really bad tempers. We have all of these tendencies among ourselves. Why? Because perhaps we haven't realized what it truly means to make Salat. Illa al-musallin. Salat is supposed to be this calming experience, where you stand in front of Allah and you're talking to Allah. And you've heard many lectures about Salah, but I'm trying to talk about Salah in the context of this passage, what Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us here. So please try and understand the connection. You know when kids are missing